Hey, boys and girls, it's Mrs. Chappelle. I need you to find something in your Friday bundle. You're going to look for this piece of paper. It says past, that means long ago, and present on it. And then there's a bunch of pictures of things that are old-fashioned and then also things that are from our time, which is the present. So find that, and we're going to be thinking about all of these little items on there. So please push pause if you don't have that piece of paper. All right, so I have such a good story. So in November, we like to think about what life was like a long time ago. And I have a really good story, and it's a story about a girl named Laura. And the story's called A Little Prairie House. Don't you guys see any streets or cars? Nope. And her house is not done yet. A little prairie house. That is a prairie. And this is a covered wagon. The horses are pulling the wagon. All of the family is in there, and all of their belongings are inside there. And then there's a cover on it that's made out of fabric, and it's called a covered wagon. Once upon a time, a little girl named Laura, and she's your age, traveled in a covered wagon across the giant prairie. She traveled with her pa, her ma, her big sister Mary, her little sister Carrie, and their good old bulldog, Jack. They were searching for the perfect place to build themselves a little house. So there they are. The ma and the pa are sitting in the front. Their bulldog, Jack, is running alongside. Is there a trail? Is there a road? One day, after the family had been traveling across the prairie for a long time, Laura and Mary woke up earlier than the sun. They ate their breakfast of cornmeal mush and hurried to help Ma wash the dishes. Pa was loading everything back into the wagon. Is there a dishwasher or a sink? Is there a table? When the sun rose, they were driving across the prairie. There was no need to drive on. So Pet and Patty, the two gentle Mustangs, waded through the grasses. Those are the horses pulling the wagon. Later that morning, Pa said, "Whoa!" The wagon stopped. "Here we are! Right here, we will build our house." The daddy decided that was where they're going to live. Laura and Mary jumped to the ground, and all around them was nothing but prairie. This is prairie. Kind of rolling hills, very gentle, a lot of grass. Right away, Pa and Ma began to unload the wagon. They took everything out and piled it on the ground while Laura and Mary and Jack watched. Then Pa drove the wagon down into the prairie out of sight to get a load of logs from the creek bottom. Oh, good, there's a creek. So that means there's water. And in the creek, there are logs. So the logs are so important because that's how they're going to build their house. There they go. Oh no, Laura was a little bit frightened to be left on the prairie without the wagon. She wanted to hide in the tall grass like a little prairie chicken, but instead she helped Ma while Mary sat on the grass and minded baby Carrie. The daddy's not there. The daddy went to the creek, but she can't see him. Oh, good, he's back. And look what he brought. Soon Pa came back with a load of logs. For days and days, Pa kept hauling logs. He made 2 piles of them, one for the house and one for the stable. When he had enough logs, it was time to build. Pa began the house first. So the house is for the people, and the stable is for the horses. All by himself, Pa built the walls of the house 3 logs high. And then Ma helped. Log by log, Pa and Ma built the walls higher and higher, and soon Laura couldn't climb over them anymore. So pretty soon it's going to be too hard for the mommy and daddy to get the logs up high enough. Then one day, Pa was off hunting, and he came home whistling merrily. I wonder why he has to hunt. Oh yeah, there's no store. And hopefully they have a lot of food inside the wagon. And there's no garden yet. So I think the daddy has to go out and hunt to go get food. Well, Daddy yells. Good news, he shouted. Pa had met a neighbor on the other side of the creek. His name was Mr. Edwards, and he was going to help Pa finish building the house, and then Pa would help Mr. Edwards build his house. They're trading. Early the next morning, Mr. Edwards came. He was lean and tall, and he bowed to Ma politely. He told Laura that he was a wildcat from Tennessee and that he could spit further than Laura had ever imagined anyone could spit. Ew. So spitting used to be a game in the olden days. Can't do that now. People don't like it, and it's really gross. But in the olden days, they would have a tin bowl, and the tin would make a nice little ping sound. And the men, after they put some tobacco in their mouth, which is really bad because it makes holes in the inside of their mouth, they would spit the brown liquid out, and they would try to step farther and farther and farther away from the spittoon, that's the tin thing, and it would go ding. People don't do that anymore. It's gross. Laura tried and tried, but she couldn't spit very far. But Mr. Edwards could. Mr. Edwards was a fast worker, and one day he and Pa built the walls of the little house as high as Pa wanted them. They sang while they worked, and their axes made the chips fly. They cut a hole for the door and square holes for the windows. Laura couldn't wait to see the inside of the house, and as soon as the tall hole was cut, she ran inside. Stripes of sunshine came through the cracks, in the walls and went all across Laura's hands and arms and feet. Look at the ground. It's still grass. And those little slats right there, see how you can see through them right now? They're going to get the mud, the clay from the creek, and they're going to pack it nice and tight, because in the winter you don't want to have the really, really cold air coming in and the snow. At the end of the day, Mr. Edwards said that he would go home, but Pa and Ma said that he must stay for supper. So supper is dinner. Ma had made stewed jackrabbit. Oh, that's what the daddy had caught. The daddy had caught a rabbit, and they're going to eat the rabbit. The Ma, she cooked it over a fire. Well, Ma had made stewed jackrabbit and steaming hot thick cornbread with molasses. Now that is a special sugar from a tree. Mr. Edwards said that he surely did appreciate that supper. And then Pa took out his fiddle and began to sing. There's the fiddle. It's a violin. Suddenly, Mr. Edwards jumped up and began to dance. He danced like a jumping jack in the moonlight, while Pa's fiddle kept on rollicking, and Laura and Mary's hands were clapping together. Pa played and played, and Mr. Edwards danced and danced. Finally, Mr. Edwards said he must go. "Play me down the road," he said. So Pa played, and Pa and Laura and Mr. Edwards sang with all their might until Laura could not hear Mr. Edwards anymore. Only the wind rustled in the prairie grasses, and the big yellow moon sailed high over the new little house on the prairie. The house doesn't look quite finished yet, and boy, life was very different back in those days. I'd like to show you a couple of things. So in the olden days, people would light a candle to see. So this is just a picture of one. And they would have a little wick right there and light it. And you put a glass thing. People went to bed a bit earlier than we do because we just turn the lights on and we have enough light to do things. Then to write, the people did not have very much paper. Paper was very expensive, but you can buy a slate and you can write over and over again. I'm going to write the word hello. So we get chalk and this. So you would get this at the store and you would trade for it. So whatever you were good at making or doing, you could trade and get something that you don't have there. And here's another thing that I have. I have this feather. And in the olden days, instead of using crayons or markers or pens, this was the pen. So if you had a bird and then you would pluck the feather, and there's this little tip right here, you would dip it in dark ink and then write with it. So let's think about the pictures. Right now we are going to be thinking about items for today. So this is the present. Present means now. And then items that are from long ago, from the past. So I'm going to go over them with you. You will need scissors and glue because you'll need to cut out each one of these and put some of them here and some of them here. Remember, this is a long ago in the past, and this one is an item that you can see today. Okay? So the first item, it says slate and chalk. Oh, I showed you that. So the slate and chalk, that's an item from a long time ago. So this one you would put from long ago. How about an iPad or a telephone? Do you think that Laura had an iPad? Do you think her parents had a telephone? No. So both of those things go to the present. Now I'm going to look at this gramophone. It's a record player from a long time ago. You do not plug it in. You wind it. And they were very expensive, and very rich people had them. Or if you went somewhere, you can go and listen to their music that they played. So this is a record player from a long time ago. So you would put that over here in the past. How about a candle? Like, we like candles, but usually we're just making the house smell good. But a candle in the olden days was so that people can see. So it was used for light. So that is an item from a long time ago, and same with the feather and the ink. So this is from a long time ago. You would write with an inkwell, so that's a little jar of ink, and a quill. So this is a feather. It's just another name for feather. Paper and pencils. That's from today. How about a lamp that you plug in? Oh, that's from today. Yes, electricity. How about a really fancy pen? It's from today. And this right here is an old-fashioned telephone. When they finally invented the telephones, they looked like this. And I can't wait to show you what they really look like. Mrs. McGuire has one. So I will show you on a later video what one of those telephones look like. Now, boys and girls, do your best work and take a picture of this on Seesaw. Have a great time. Bye.